twin-stick shooter market has hugely grown in popularity over the past few years, with some great titles such as Enter the Dungeon and Dogos, just to mention a few. So, to make an impression in this vast genre, a game really needs to stand out. 8 Days, developed by Santa Clara Games, does so many things well. Unfortunately, the latter stages of the game don't carry the same enjoyment the first half brings. The campaign consists of 5 missions, each lasting around the 1 hour mark, depending on how much you die, which inevitably you will die a lot, but more on that later. You can choose to play through the game as one of 2 mercenaries. Neither have different gameplay mechanics, so this is purely a cosmetic choice. This feels like a missed opportunity. Having different abilities to play with could have added more depth to the already great gunplay 8 Days offers. The moment you start the first mission, it's clear to see that the developers wanted to provide you with the ability to dodge the variety of projectiles you'll face throughout the game. The slick movement and responsive shooting mechanics lead to some very enjoyable edge-of-your-seat standoffs with a variety of NPCs. It also made most of boss fights an accessible challenge. I say most as the boss fights are very inconsistent. Each mission offers 2 bosses, a mid-level boss and an end-level boss. On several occasions I would find the mid-level boss a real challenge, having to really assess their movements and attacks to ensure I was in the right place at the right time. However, all but one of the end-level bosses were far too easy and often took away that feeling of triumph. The first 2 missions bring a steep learning curve with them, but one I relish to overcome. There's no denying that 8 Days brings a serious challenge, and as with the harder bosses, it also brings a great sense of joy when successfully completing a difficult section of the mission. Unfortunately, I found this sense of achievement to only really last throughout the first 2 missions. One of the hardest challenges you'll find in the game is managing your health. You only have 3 health slots, and with each shot you take, you lose 1 chunk of health. As you'd expect, first aid kits are pretty sparse, but during the first 2 missions, they felt just adequate enough to not become frustrating. The solid and slick gunplay is not only the most enjoyable part of the game, but pretty much the foundation of what 8 Days is trying to achieve. So when starting the 3rd mission, I found it very strange for the game to only equip me with a rock, which, when taking on 4 to 5 enemies at the same time, creates pretty impossible to win situations. After countless times of failing to get anywhere, I sometimes resorted to making a run for it, which, believe it or not, actually worked several times. I hated taking this approach to the game. I appreciate the developers want to create challenging gameplay, but I feel there's a big difference between a game being hard and a game cheaply giving you literally no resources to succeed. There is some basic story to 8 Days. A mercenary organisation is trying to stop a new cult known as the Masters of Mankind. The story is shared through cutscenes at the beginning of each mission. It really didn't bother me that the story wasn't the main focus of the game. As previously mentioned, the times 8 Days does shine is when you've got a gun in your hand. Local co-op is available and provides some good tactical fun. Although I didn't spend a lot of time playing with a friend, when I did, the gameplay in the final 3 missions was more accessible, albeit still a bit frustrating. As a fundamental shooter, 8 Days is great. The slick and fast-paced movements combined with the responsive shooting mechanics made the early stages of the game a lot of fun to play. However, the lack of weapons, ammo and health in the latter stages bring more of a cheap difficulty rather than a welcome challenge.